Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 184 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
Karak, we are back. We hope all of you had a fantastic holiday break. Karak, you do anything fun over the holidays?
No, we had a small Christmas. Like I talked to you once or twice prior, and then a little bit after, and I mean, we didn't really do anything in between. Yeah, my birthday came up. What did we do for that? I had a big Heroes Clicks nerd get together. Yeah. We call it Saturn or Sat Nerd Day, where everybody comes over and we played that and got sick by drinking like 16 gallons of fucking eggnog. We talk about it in your Discord all the time because I'm such an eggnog freak. And just played. You know what I did? I sat down and played a bunch of free MMOs.
Really?
A bunch.
What'd you hop into?
Yeah. I hopped into Star Trek Online. And what I'm doing is on Mondays we do like an MMO on the Twitch channel where like people come in, we play these older MMOs. But because these MMOs have existed for so long, their free-to-play element is way higher than it used to be. So in the past, you jump in and pretty quickly you'd be like, I think I need to pay for this or that, more storage or something.
Right.
But because they've existed for so long, they pushed it out. So like I played Star Trek for 25 hours, like solid, like 18 hours one day and the rest the next day. And never ran into that and just had a blast. Neverwinter. We're doing World of Tanks, War Thunder, because the consoles now have a shit ton of these. Yeah. And you know me, I've already talked about DCU a lot. So it was just, it was something I wanted to do and hadn't got a chance with all the games. And I've just taken complete advantage of like not a ton of games being out. So I could jump into some of these.
That's kind of what I did. While I was away, even though videos are going up on the channel, I was like, wow, I can just kind of play anything. So I was wondering, I just kind of went with what I was feeling. Do I want to play something from like the PS2 era? Do I want to just play something that's interesting to me now? And so I ended up finding myself sinking a decent amount of time into playing Call of Duty with my friends. I didn't really expect that because my whole plan in my head was like, I'm going to go back and go full on nostalgia, but that really wasn't calling my name. So yeah, I ended up playing a lot of game battles on that. A lot. And then also Pokemon. It was kind of a nice. That was more of a trip back to the past than anything because I was playing Let's Go Eevee, so that's a remake of Red and Blue. So it was nice to kind of go back. I'm almost done with that, and those were kind of the two main games I played for the most part. And it was a similar thing with you, except Eevee only came out fairly recently. Where I was thinking, you know what, this is a time where not much is happening, where I can actually maybe dust this game real quick. So,
when you say Call of Duty, do you mean Black Ops 4?
Correct.
PS4 or PC?
PS4.
So, do you do fairly well?
Like playing?
Yeah, kills wise, and do you find the control with the controller still fairly?
I have a scuff, so I've played. I played Call of Duty competitively for a lot of my high school time, and then I stopped when I got into college, and I've kind of made it more of a side hobby. It used to be I wouldn't say it was a full-time thing, but like it used to be like the only shit I did rather than
sure.
And now I play a ton of other games, but now I'm able to fit in Call of Duty more because it's multiplayer only. So there wasn't that like campaign, all right, I'm done kind of thing, and then some multiplayer for the review like I did last year with World War II. So. But yeah, back to what you were saying. Yeah, I generally perform pretty well, I'd say.
I've always, because I did not jump into this one near as much as the others. In fact, I've played, I would say, less than like a couple dozen games. And I felt it was pretty good, and I heard a lot of people complaining and being like, oh, you need the PC version, which I have. But it was just like, I was sitting back and I was sort of just enjoying playing on the console. I felt it was pretty good. There was, I don't know why, but... in that game in particular, I sort of like Call of Duty more than Battlefield in the way it moves around in this one. I really sort of like Call of Duty Black Ops and just sort of the adjustments. I only do the BR and not the deathmatch stuff.
Right.
Is that what you're doing?
I do. Well, since I play game battles, it's not the only way you can play it, but I prefer search and destroy, so it's like one life, that's all you got kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So a lot of it boils down to strategy, if you're playing game battles rather, and going where you need to be and winning your gunfights. So I don't really like Blackout that much. If I were to pick a BR game right now, it probably honestly would be Fortnite, because I did enjoy the building aspect to that, at least when I had initially played it. I definitely would be awful at it at this point in time. But yeah, so you gravitated more towards the the blackout mode. And what's funny is I still haven't touched zombies at all, whatsoever.
Either way, haven't even turned it on. And
Same.
somebody just asked me today. They're like, "Hey, man, we should do it," because from all information I've been given, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I just, whenever I do jump in, it's like BR, because I like a little bit of the length of life. You last a little longer, even if it's just running around.
It does.
And so you're like, yeah. And so if I'm sitting back and we're all joking around, I like that. I've always thought that even the ones you didn't like of Call of Duties, because there's been ones I've liked you haven't liked, and vice versa. I do sort of like the quick movement though. So the occasional deathmatch is fun because it's just like fucking, you're in there and there's people everywhere, and everybody's an enemy. So yeah. So I still think it's a pretty good game. I just unfortunately haven't got a chance to really jump in deep like I'd like to. So it's cool you did.
I wonder if it's from like someone who plays public matches. I wonder what they think of the game versus myself, who I'm usually playing private matches against like other teams and stuff. Where
I'm playing public.
Yeah. So for me, like I notice a lot. Just because more people are in the public matches, I wonder if people are enjoying their experience more than myself. Where I enjoy the game mechanically,
interesting,
but there's some weird bugs that happen. Like there's this thing called fog of war, where if you're looking in the general direction of someone, the red dot will pop up on the map telling your whole team where someone is, and sometimes it'll clip through a wall. And so if you're playing a one life game, sometimes my team and I are able to take out someone just because we were looking around for someone, and also for a split second, you see a little blip and like, oh, he's there, and we just all get right on top of him, and that's it. Sometimes the lobbies break way more often than they should at this point in the game's life. And for some reason on the PS4, and I don't know if anyone else shares this issue, but it like slows down my PS4. And granted, I have the launch PS4, so that could be it too. But like no other game does this that I've ever played on this console. Any PS4 game I ever played has been reviewed on this console. Any other game I switch to now does not slow it down. It's Call of Duty. When I try to go to the crossbar menu, it slows the fuck down when playing Call of Duty. It's really, really weird.
Okay, wait a minute, because this is something that was just mentioned on my podcast prior.
Right.
So are you saying in the game as well as outside of the game?
When I press the PlayStation menu button and it brings me like outside of the game into like the cross media bar. That slows down, like going to
interesting.
Yeah.
Every person in my Twitch today, and there was over 100 people in there, every single person was complaining about what you're talking about, but it was not connected just to Black Ops.
Really? Maybe it's a PlayStation update then.
It may be. This is the first I've heard of it, other than me noticing it. But I was just like, front end or home, home pages are never the fastest, at least on the Xbox. So I'm sort of accustomed to the occasional delay or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it just popped up randomly in the podcast. It's so interesting you mentioned this, because everybody in that stream was like, holy shit, I'm not the only one. Like, I think everybody is in their little silo. They all thought they were the only ones having it. You are not the only one having that. Every single person I know of who was talking about the PS4 today all mentioned that they were having delay issues in the home. So it might be something within the system itself.
Yeah, very well
interesting.
Possible then, because I've only nosed it with Call of Duty when I've fired up Dragon Ball FighterZ, Hero Academy.
And you didn't have it you didn't have it there?
Nothing. It was really strange.
That is weird. I'll have to look into that. That might be something.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because I was just playing a bunch of fighting games at that point in time or whatever. But for some reason it would slow down. Anyway, probably our longest intro in the history of the show at 9 minutes long, but that's all right, because now we're going to talk about some Smash DLC leaks that have come about. So yeah, I know some people do take Smash leaks seriously. They don't want to know, like, they call them spoilers, which I've always found interesting. Like, same thing with, like, roster announcements before the game came out. People were like, oh, don't spoil the game. So I just want to let everyone know in advance that's what we're talking about. There was a post on, I believe it was Reset Era. Correct me if I'm wrong. But nonetheless, this post is translated and gives us 5 DLC characters potentially coming. It starts off with Joker, which we already know about, and it says that Persona 5R will be released in the first half of 2019. We don't know what Persona 5R is quite yet. There's been a lot of speculation that it is a arena game from Arc System, or we've seen, I think it was the brand manager for Tekken and Soul Calibur, has been teasing a lot about some type of Persona related announcement coming, and then when they teased that Persona 5R, he said like enjoy the rest of your year, and was kind of indicating like this was the big announcement coming from like his brand. So it's presumably a Persona fighting game that 5R is going to be. No one knows what the R stands for. But anyway, obviously we know that's the first Smash DLC character that was confirmed at the Game Awards. The second is, and I apologize if I say this wrong, but Erdrick, which is the main character from Dragon Quest XI.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, that has been a rumor for a while. There was some data mining too. And someone found a code name for a character. One was for the Piranha Plant, one was for Joker, and the other one was called Brave, which I believe was like the code name or something, or like the name in Japan for the main protagonist of Dragon Quest XI. So considering it's been data mined from the game's files, that's pretty much a given. I'm gonna try to read the rest of this post. It says Anna, Lucia, and 11 Luminari's name in Japan as palette swaps. So I guess that means for the character itself when you're changing their costume in game. Not just Dragon Quest XI S, but past Dragon Quest series will be released in 2019. So I believe it was confirmed. If you want to double check me on this,
I am looking at on Resetera.
Okay.
It is definitely
it
there.
Is. And then would you be able to make sure, I think Dragon Quest XI is supposed to be coming to the Switch this year?
Oh, yeah, I can check that. Yeah, you mean as a full release?
Yeah, because it's the last part of this second character leak is it says he's in to promote DQ series overseas. Dragon Quest XI S will be published by Nintendo. So I'm guessing they are bringing it to the Switch, but I just want to verify that.
On Switch, this just says... So it's for sure coming because even in June, somebody, Polygon, announced something. I'm just looking. They're not really talking about the exact day, though.
Okay. Yeah, just as long as it exists is all.
It for sure exists.
Okay,
yep.
Cool. Just making sure. 3 is one that this is more exciting to me than any DLC character, is Ryu Hayabusa. This leak says there is a project going on for Ninja Gaiden's 30th anniversary. Gaiden? I say Gaiden personally, but...
Either one. I say Gaiden.
So Ninja Gaiden's 30th anniversary. New game comes out in 2019. Not sure if it's brand new or not. I imagine it would be brand new, like some type of reboot, because the first two were remade with like Sigma, unless they're doing like a collection of some kind, which I just want Ninja Gaiden to come back. I think those are some of the most badass games when I was growing up. I love Ninja Gaiden Black. That was one of my favorite games. I adored its challenge, its slick animations, and 2 just kind of ups the ante on everything. It's so good. Number 4 is one that brought a lot of drama to the internet, which was Minecraft Steve. He will apparently be announced at E3 2019. Alex and Master Chief skins as palette swaps. He was supposed to be on the base roster, but sent to DLC for Minecraft Dungeons promotion. Now, if they brought in an exclusive character like that, it'll be interesting to see how the door opens for future exclusivity characters to come in, especially if it's Microsoft. Granted, they said that there will be a Master Chief skin, but I wonder if Master Chief would ever be a possibility. The 5th and final character on this post is Marine from Doom. He'll be announced at E3 2019. Doom 64 costume is palette swap and a promotion for Doom Eternal. Wowee. So for me personally, out of this whole list, of course, Joker, because I think Persona 5's the shit. But Ryu Hayabusa and the Doom Marine, oh man, that's awesome. That is so freaking awesome. What do you think about these characters on the leak and also some of the rumors attached to them?
I think Joker's by far like my favorite. Yeah, like the idea of Joker.
Absolutely.
It's not even sort of close. Like the idea of Master Chief, all those kind of things. It's like, okay, whatever. Doom Marine, okay, like that's great. That sounds like it's just a swap. But I like the Joker's awesome, and I think it fits for some. You could never get me to give you a good description of why I think that fits. Right. But I do think Persona fits with Smash Brothers for whatever reason. I think it's just like their flashy, exits when they're running, and the cartoony
there's a flair
look
to it, just like
there's a flair to it, yeah, and the charisma is a little bit the same and a little bit overlappy. So to me, that's the one I'm most excited for. I'm just laughing because, dude, a lot of games with barely any content don't get DLC, and this game's got like 8,000 stages, 8,000 fighters, and then they're like, and here's some DLC, and you're like, are you fucking...
Yeah.
It continues to blow me away in the amount of content that is in one game, that game in particular.
Absolutely, because when you think about it, it's not just... People always look at the characters and are like, oh, what's their moveset? What are they doing? But often what's forgotten with these Smash DLCs is that we also get a new stage and new piece of music from them. And the game already has, like you said, hundreds of stages and hundreds of pieces of music.
It's ridiculous.
Insane.
I would consider myself a not necessarily a Nintendo fan. I am still blown away by a bunch of shit they're doing. And it started with Rabbids, probably.
Right. Yeah.
But they're nailing it in some pretty fucking unbelievable ways. And this is just one more example of it. But yeah, that game is so big. It's just stupid. It's actually dumb. It's that big. Like, I love it because no other game... It's almost like I was talking about Injustice mode's multi-universe thing. No other game can really fill content now like they can. And then Smash Brothers is like, well, okay, you've got that. No one can fill the number of stages or characters we have. Mm-hmm. And to me, it just ups the ante. That's why I want them to do as much as possible, because I want any other game, doesn't matter if it's the next Dragon Force game to go to look at it and go, we have to equal that, or we have to do something that makes us get a person's eyes away from Smash Brothers. I love it. I think it's awesome.
I think at least a good competition. You're kind of seeing a similar thing happen with like Jump Force. They just keep piling on the announcements.
There we go. I was mixing Dragon Ball and Jump Force. That's what I was.
I figured that's what you were talking about.
And Dragon Force is a Saturn game, so it sounded right. But yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is Jump Force. Yeah. That's and those kind of titles.
Yeah, they're adding so many characters to that game. What I just hope that doesn't happen from this is that it dilutes the kits of characters where there's a lot of copy and paste. Like Smash Bros is definitely guilty of having your Echo fighters, which for example, like Ken and Ryu, they fight pretty much identical. I'm sure a Smash expert could tell me what's different about them, but what's their moveset wise serves as the same. I know they have different sweet spots and all that, but yeah, man, I am just hoping that that's not the effect it has. Like if you put in 40 characters that were all well balanced, that's amazing, because this game has a really good balance. There is an advantage, I feel, to sword characters, but what's wonderful about this roster size is anytime I've sat down to play this game, whether it was online with friends or we all get around the same TV, it's amazing to see how it just never gets old, because you just click the random button and you don't know who you're gonna get. There's just so many characters. It's always a surprise, and it's always like, oh, I never really tried to master this character. Especially when I got, I think, 50 plus hours in this game now, and it blows me away that I'll get on a random selection Mewtwo, and I'm like, I've only played him like twice, and it's like, I have 50 plus hours in this game. I completed the adventure mode, unlocked everyone, I play online a ton, I play with my friends a ton, and I still really haven't scratched the surface of a bunch of characters on the roster. Like, that's nuts to me. That's insane.
Yeah, it's awesome, and like I said, I mean, so you were talking about not repetitive characters, but the worry that you might dilute a little bit of it, and I get that. Mm-hmm. But I also think that you can service both kinds of fans. The fans who are casual, who look at this and go, what the fuck? And the fans who are like, they know the quarter-second pause between two characters who look alike. Right. And to me, I am okay with, I don't know what the term would be, not necessarily junk characters, but I wouldn't want it diluted, but I'm also okay with them just saying fuck it. Mm-hmm. Like and that's sort of, for some reason, Nintendo has not ever been like that. They're not really a fuck it company. They never have really been like that. And this way, some of the stuff that they're adding in the data mining I was just reading on Resetera, like, you're just like, really? That's fucking amazing. Like, that's so cool. And the fact that also that you're hitting random and after 50 hours, you're like, oh, I've only played him twice. That happens on, like, let's say Injustice, and it's only got 21 or 23 fighters. So a game that's got so many more fighters, you can be playing that now for years.
Yeah.
And 100%. You're still going to be hitting random and going, oh, we've not got this combination before. Because that's another thing. So many fighters on the screen, that exact combination, you may have gone, I know this person and they know this character, and I know this person and they know this character, but I have no clue how this person's going to fight. And anybody who plays in a fighting game can tell you sometimes a person who doesn't know how to fight can pull off some weird shit because they don't know what they shouldn't do. And so you'll be like, he'll never do this because you would never do that because it opens up a weakness, and a newbie or somebody who hasn't played that character does it, and you get that moment where you're like, fuck. And in a Smash Brothers game, because there's so many people, that can end up damaging you just enough that somebody who knows what they're doing can zoom in and fuck you up. And I just love that. I love the chaos of it. I
also love looking at the tier list, because usually when you look at it, I'll see it in like a MOBA or something, you know, actually MOBA's probably not the best example, but other fighting games, shooters, you'll see like a very condensed list, like 4 in the S tier, 5 in the A tier, but like Smash Bros is like S tier, and there's like fucking 12 fighters there because the roster is that big, and then like the A tier is like another 20 fighters. It's insane just how much there is there, because it kind of elevates the entire experience. And what's going to be most interesting to me is seeing the competitive aspect of it, because I wonder, you know, these pros, they grind the game out. They learn every nitty-gritty detail of it, like you said, to the finest details, pauses, every frame, they know about it.
Yeah.
And it's like when you've got that much to dig through, you know, the first tournament for this game when it happens, I cannot wait to see
it's gonna be anarchy.
Yeah, the character variety, like across the board, as it narrows down, like who are the top fighters and what are those people using, and is the roster so big that anyone could be good with most, I'd say, top tier characters and find success, even if they're not like the S tier, the best. I really wonder how all that's going to pan out as someone who's interested in that stuff, because that's what I see most of this roster, is that a lot of characters, if you know their kit and you use it well and put your opponent in positions to play to you, not you come to them, you can find success. So
yeah,
crazy stuff.
The first competition is going to be funny too, because it always takes a little feeling out for people to sort, and somebody who looks really good at one section, and then they come up to the next, and they're not able to adapt or what have you. But that game has so much stuff that it feels to me like it's going to require a lot longer of a period of time. And then even then, there's going to be those moments where you're like not 100% sure, because there's been times where, and I don't watch as many competitions as you do, but I'm big into Virtual Fighter, which is, from what I understand, actually just coming back into one of the competitions. Woo. And when you see them fight, you sort of see a guy and you know how he's going to play Akira or Lau. Like, just because he's been around for so long, you sort of know. But with that game, it's going to be a year, and you're still going to be like, how's this guy going to play this? And in competitions, is there any competition where they hit the random button? Because that, to me, would be the magic. The juice, to me, would be a competition where everybody who joins just has to hit the random button and gets assigned a random character. Do we know if... Does that ever happen in
I'm sure
Smash Brothers?
Not on like the main stage, like
not on
the
the
main.
But damn it,
I would love that. That would be awesome, especially for a game like Smash, because they'd be the only game that has enough character variety to do that.
Right.
Yeah, so,
and having these experts who maybe do stuff that you wouldn't expect. Yeah, I would just personally, I think that this game is one of the few games where I would like that almost more than people knowing, exactly how to do stuff. But I'm more of a, I don't know how to describe myself when it comes to fighting game followers. Like, I like people who know what they're doing, but sometimes I like the people who are a little janky. Like, some of this, they might pull, you'll hear, in the, what do you call, shoutcasters? Isn't that what they're calling them now?
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
The people who announce games.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll be like, well, he pulled that off, but that wasn't the exact right move to pull off that time. And to me, I'm always like, fuck you, man. Like, that's exactly why you pull it off, because it wasn't the proper move to pull off at that time. And I think Smash Brothers is that the entire time. And that's why I will be watching those. And probably the only game I'll watch in competition will be that game.
Yeah, it's like me with Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's like it was the only game I watched out of all of Evo, cause that and a little bit of Tekken 7, just because I played a lot of Tekken back when it first released into a couple months of its life cycle. But yeah, man, Dragon Ball was such a blast to watch because it was so fast and frantic that you just knew that someone who made a split-second decision a little bit quicker and had like the right idea in mind could win the fight. So it was exciting to watch, and I'm curious to see how like Smash's finer elements kind of flesh out. But
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Do you feel, now that Dragon Ball released when? 6 months ago?
January.
More, yeah.
20 something. of 2018.
2018, so 13 months ago. Looking back on it, do you feel that maybe they should have toned down the graphics and the over-the-topness just a little bit to make it a little bit more readable? Because that was not an issue with me for about 6 months. And then when I was trying to get people into it, and you know, I love the auto combo because it works for new people, but people who played can can instantly figure that shit out.
Right.
So it made people who were new feel like, hey, but I had people who looked at it, friends who knew fighting games, they looked at it and they were like, dude, it's a little too busy for me. Like and these are guys who came off of X-Men versus whatever that arcade game was that was huge for years, the Capcom.
I don't know what you're talking about, but it's not coming
choose 3 against 3.
Oh, Marvel
so
versus
I was just
Capcom.
Marvel versus Capcom. Yeah. So when you look at it, does it feel a little busy to you, or do you? Do you maybe you don't revisit it as much?
I do.
I don't know.
I revisit it quite a bit actually. My friends make fun of me for it because like they're like, dude, it came out last year now. Why don't you just leave it? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's a good game. Fuck that.
It's a fucking good ass game. I'm a Dragon Ball fanboy, so it's just nice to watch like the show pretty much in action and be a part of it. Yes, it is very busy. I used to have my issues with it. I feel part of it is finding a character off the bat who can kind of slow play down for you.
Okay.
And by this I mean like in Android 16, he has super armor, so sometimes someone will hit you with a really quick attack, but because you're using your heavy, it doesn't fucking matter. You're gonna break through and hit him anyway. And yeah. I think that ability, while it's very annoying getting hit by it, is good for players to kind of learn the ropes of the game without getting just pummeled endlessly and just staring at the screen being like, okay, that's like another 20-hit combo. Because there is a lot of data overload. It's like, you know, every combo in that game is like a fucking 40-hit combo because for like every millisecond you're inside the Kamehameha, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It just adds up fast. And I think it, for a newcomer hopping into it, they're like, Jesus, man, like I suck, but I also can't tell what's going on. So yeah, I think finding a character to slow it down is good.
Okay.
I also think learning some combos and realizing that when you're actually pulling it off, it's not that crazy or insane, because then when you're getting hit by it, it won't be that big of a deal, and it won't be this flashy, wild thing that was very foreign to you originally. But yeah, it's definitely a very busy game. I remember playing in front of my girlfriend one time. I was like playing online, just hanging out, and she was like, "Oh my god, like I feel like I'm gonna have some type of issue just by staring at it."
Yeah, like a seizure, right?
Yeah,
like a yeah.
That was the word. I couldn't find it, but yeah,
that's exactly what somebody said. Is I feel like I'm gonna have an epileptic fit.
Yeah,
like there's so many graphics going on. yeah, and I was just wondering because like, I like the idea of it being over the top when you're good, but when you go back and look at Mortal Kombat or any of those, it is maybe a little dry.
Yeah,
and I would like them to step it up a little bit. And I think the next time that this game comes out, I'm thinking I would like them to step it down just a tiny bit. I don't know, man. Like
I can get behind it.
I don't know.
I can get behind it because it is like there are just some days my brain is tired.
Yeah,
and, you know, I'm editing all day, or I'm just tired as fuck. And I go to play that game, and my head just shuts off. I'm like, this is too many flashing images. Like, my eyes hurt, my head hurts now. Like, fuck this. And I just shut it off. And that's something that doesn't really happen with any other fighter. So, yeah, I think that's an indication that they should just tone it down a little bit. It's like, how do they tone it down, though?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know what they would do. I guess maybe just like sometimes the punch effects and the swirl and shit around a person's arm, like is so crazy, maybe tighten them just a little bit so that, because there were times where somebody would hit somebody else with a combo and half the screen is filled up with flashes and like a kick effect that goes, 15 feet in the air, and you're just like, Jesus
I think
Christ.
A big cause of commotion is usually the Z assists you can call in, where like people will shoot like 40 different blasts at once, and you just get lost in this cloud of smoke, and that can be frustrating because a lot of people use that as a way to attack you because you just can't see what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
so it can get a little wild. It can get
amazing game.
Wild.
So certainly not on my not on my part dissing on it. I love it. I just sometimes it's a lot.
I know. Absolutely. What is also a lot is what's coming to the Hitman franchise, as we have the HD Enhanced Collection coming along, and that is releasing January 11th. So after this podcast release, it'll only be a mere few days. It's releasing in 4K, 60 FPS, improved lighting, updated controls, and the games that are involved in this enhanced collection are Blood Money and Absolution. Now, I am a late Hitman fan. I played the first one that Square did recently episodically, and I played Absolution, which I actually did like a lot. Now, I remember one time we had Many a True Nerd on the podcast, and I told him I liked Absolution, and he did not like that. So I don't know what the general fan perspective, and he loves Hitman, by the way. So I don't know what the general fan perspective on Hitman is. I know people love Blood Money, though. So what do you think when you look at this collection? Are you like, okay, Absolution, and like, yes, Blood Money, or...
No, I'm excited for both. I think that just because one of them isn't as good as the other, it may have had a really fun level here or there, and they're fine. The problem is, Matty, is that number 2 is just that good. It's good. And I mean, it's good in a way that I think remakes and remasters, even at a lesser cost, because I think the rumor is these will be a $30 or $40 purchase versus $60.
Right.
If that's true or not true, I just think that when you play the Hitmans now with the open world, you can still go into those old ones. They're a little bit more linear, and really enjoy yourself. But I'm more worried not necessarily about people going back and not liking one or the other, but instead going back and going, oh, this doesn't offer that. You really have to warn them that it's not the new Hitman games. Like, it's not. It's still got a shit ton of freedom, but there's a different feel to it overall. And I'm excited for them because I'm a Hitman fan, like I always have been, even though, especially the first one, man, I fucking sucked. I was the worst Hitman, dude.
Oh yeah, I was a bad Hitman.
Where you walk up to
unclean,
or you fucking time somebody bad, and you're walking up and they turn right when you get 5 feet, and you're all, oh, are you fucking kidding me? And you have to go loud. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be awesome. Sorry, my dog's. Jeez.
Oh, it's all right, man. It's not a podcast without those dogs. They're part of the show too,
dude. I swear to God, and it just doesn't matter. I think they know that we're doing a podcast.
They have to.
They don't. They have to. They don't bark ever. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Do you think you'll buy them or get it or rent or review them? Either one.
Once I saw January 11th, I was like, oh, man, I really want to.
Pretty tight.
But yeah, exactly. It is tight. I was just telling you before the show how I had sent out emails for review copies for, what was it, Jump Force, Metro, Crackdown, Resident Evil, Kingdom Hearts. And the list is so big that another one's probably escaping me at this point in time. But regardless of the fact, there's just so much to already cover that to try to squeeze in like one more game, I just don't see myself actually doing it by then.
Sure.
Because that seems like a type of game that will be more nostalgia fueled. Like if someone likes Absolution or Blood Money, they're probably going to buy it. And they don't. Yeah. It's probably based off an opinion they already had.
Right.
I didn't see a demand to review it. Are you gonna get around to reviewing it though?
I think I haven't decided if I'm gonna Twitch it or review it. But I will cover it in some way just because I want them to do well. If they're good, I want that to be celebrated.
Right.
And because I'm a little nervous about the company overall. Like there's weird financial stuff you're always hearing about, and it's like, okay, hopefully these will be good so that people look at Hitman in the series and think, for example, I get what you mean about nostalgia, but I'm also hoping some people maybe didn't get 1 and 2 because they were too big. And they look at Absolution of Blood Money and say, I can probably bite off this.
Right.
And so there's two camps there. There's like, the nostalgia camp, and then the camp that maybe didn't get into 1 or 2. Because I had people in my Discord, people in your Discord, who were like, it's pretty big. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of weird shit. And it's like, well, maybe a more linear, or maybe not linear, but more level-based structure might let them get through it and might make them advance to the new ones. Because the new ones are that good. And I want people to experience them.
Yeah, and I remember Absolution wasn't terribly long. That was like 15 hours.
15.
Yeah, it was nothing crazy when I played it. So But man, I had such a bad time at the end of Absolution just because I cleared my what was it called? My cache on my 360, and for some reason it erased my entire save data on the entire console. So I had lost I had lost my Hitman save file, and I was pissed. And that because back then, like on the Xbox 360, clearing your cache did something to speed up the system, and I went to go do that.
Yep.
And yeah, when I found out that I logged in and it was like my save file just was non-existent. But that's happened before, where I don't know how it's happened. And I googled it because when I did it, it was for Xenoverse 1. I googled it because I thought I was dumb as shit, and I accidentally
why during boot, right?
No, I accidentally pressed options, and I went to go close the application for Xenoverse because I was done playing it. But I don't know what went through my head. I went down to delete. I just wasn't thinking. I deleted the application. And at this point in time, I think I had like 10 hours in the game. Like I was a decent ways in. I was like, oh God, I just deleted the game. Like I probably just lost my save file. And so I looked it up where if it wasn't even a point of me re-downloading it at the time, because I was like, I'll just move on to something else. Or just I need to know what I'm getting into. Do I need to restart? And a lot of people were like, yeah, I accidentally deleted my application too. I can't believe I'm not the only one. And what I was getting at is thank God for cloud save files, man, because I re-downloaded the game. And
right?
I downloaded the save file from the cloud, and I was like, all right, we're good. Everything's still here. And that happens with a lot of games. Like when you re-download them, they're just boom right there.
I just hooked up a 360 after I don't know how long of not having one hooked up, and I was going to do Skylanders for Christmas with some friends. And I all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, like all my stuff's going to be removed. You know, it didn't even dawn on me. And then it's like, do you want to download the cloud save? And I was all, yes. And it was all there. I was like, oh, you forget. Like, you're like, this is the greatest fucking thing that's ever happened, because like a lot of time, or a system will die. And like on an Android phone, there's some apps that if that phone dies, you're fucked. Like, because it's matched to the phone. And it's so nice to have cloud saves and just be like, no matter where you are, just as long as you have internet.
Yeah, that happened when I tried to transfer phones into my new phone last year. Nothing saved, so I had to redo everything.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and you don't realize how much stuff you have saved until you have to redo every password, every login, and you're just like, what was the password I used in fucking 2016 for this arcane software? Yeah.
Yeah. And then only thing that came over was my pictures and videos, though, so I was happy about that. That was good. Anyway, Hitman HD is coming January 11th, once again, if anyone is interested. And now, we move on over to Bethesda. So, Bethesda has a track record of getting involved in legal disputes. Anyone who's followed them closely for many years knows that they're no strangers to these types of feuds, we'll call them. So one of the latest ones that happened earlier in 2018 was a WestWorld mobile game came out, very similar aesthetically to Fallout Shelter. And now the announcement has come out that Bethesda has resolved the lawsuit over this game. So, the information I'm getting here is from Game Informer. They say, Bethesda Softworks and Behavior Interactive jointly announced today that the parties have amicably resolved the lawsuit Bethesda brought against Behavior and others related to Fallout Shelter and Westworld mobile games. Bethesda said in a statement, while it's not directly named, it is likely that Warner Bros. Entertainment is also included in this resolution. At the center of Bethesda's claim was Westworld was in fact reusing code from Fallout Shelter paid for when Behavior was making the game for them. To illustrate this example, Bethesda pointed out that a glitch that went unfixed in Fallout Shelter was reproducible in the exact same way in the Westworld mobile game. Now, while none of the parties have indicated what the resolution entails, it is probable that Bethesda received monetary compensation they were seeking in the original lawsuit. So what do you think about this? Bethesda got a little more money.
If a bug is reproducible in the same style of game and all that kind of stuff, yeah, there's pretty high chance that there was something that was taken, or at the very least, the programmer who built it took the exact same code, built that code into the new game, and then the new game's got the bug. We talked about this in your Discord, and I think it was Grimblade who knows some programming. It might have been him and somebody else, but they were talking about it, and it might have been Paperbag too, but it is possible. This is something that John Carmack got in trouble for when he left
Oculus.
went to Facebook and Oculus. That was a disaster, and I couldn't understand it because I know that with programming, because I've done a little, you can obviously do things slightly different in some ways, but you assume that a lot of it is ones and zeros and you would do it the same way all the time. And while true, you do find out that there are some things you don't, and a bug like that is something that if it's reproducible in the exact same time frame, the exact same way, it's most likely probably copied. So I would assume Bethesda just wanted to win. Right?
Yeah.
Like even if it's called we decided together we're done, you still know that Bethesda's still not going after them. So any other company out there sees that as Bethesda winning because they didn't, they weren't told they had to pay the lawyer's fees of the company they attacked or anything like that, which is pretty normal in America if you get caught, frivolous lawsuits. So most likely it was real. I think
crazy
that Bethesda probably got $1, honestly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like one of those things where it's like, you pay me what? Yeah. I don't know if Bethesda probably went after the money. I really do believe it was them trying to prove. And sometimes you'll get a company that's like, we don't want money. We want to win. We want to be proven that this is true. And that's all that matters to them. I don't know if Bethesda really probably asked them for a ton of cash. Could have, but.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. The only thing that I think they've proven in the past, because they've chased so many different lawsuits down, and I don't think I've ever heard of a time they're like, yeah, we lost.
Yeah.
So with them constantly seeking these battles out and winning most of them, don't you feel like they've already kind of proven themselves, and that anything else would not, obviously they'd still try to protect their property. I think it's as simple as that. But do you think that maybe they also just say like, oh, they're using our shit, let's make some money off of it?
It might be let's make some money, but it's probably a small amount. And depending. So since the entire, and Reg in my Discord's a programmer, and he's like, with court cases, then we had a lawyer in there who's like, if there's a percentage of the code, a lot of times somebody will say percentage of the profits. If it's a large percentage of the code, then it's like all the profits, that kind of stuff. Wow. I assume it was more along the lines of, the company probably didn't have to hand over source code. It was probably a thing of like, we know that this happened. The company was like, we didn't do it. They decided to go to litigation. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll pay you, whatever. And we'll just move on. I don't know if Bethesda really just goes after money. I think Bethesda does go after their IPs, though. I think that's been proven. That if Bethesda, or not only IPs, sorry, but any of this kind of copying, I think that's all Bethesda cares about. Is just going after people. There was one email though. Remember that email that the guy got, or the letter that the guy got that was cease and desist, and it was in the letter Bethesda said, we will not only come after you, but it was written like you described. It was written like we're gonna erase your family. Like it was a bit, and it was in a form letter. It was It was almost like a threat, and it's like, we won't just do this, but we will demand you pay for our lawyers. We will demand that you all proceeds are given up. So you could be right. Maybe they do just want, maybe they are after money. I don't know, because it just dawned on me as we're talking that letter was from Bethesda, and I can't remember who they wrote that to, but it was to a modder, I think, or somebody who did something that they felt was unacceptable, and they wrote that big. Matter of fact, I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, look that up, because I want to say that was a modder, but I'm not sure. It also reminds me of like Bethesda hunting down ones that just didn't really strike me as a red flag. And one was, I think, it was before they announced Fallout Shelter, and they took down a game called, I want to say not Shelter, but it was a vault-based game or something like that, and they had taken it off. And at the time, we didn't know Bethesda Game Studios would get into the mobile market, and that would be a place of continued interest for them. So at the time, people looked at it as like, what the fuck is Bethesda doing? Just like going after companies like this and protecting something that they're never going to do. And they ended up doing it. So that's one that always stuck out to me too, is that there was that initial introduction of Bethesda looking aggressive because there was nothing attached to their motives. It just looked like they were gunning for a company. So I feel like that's stuck with a lot of folks.
It dawned on me too. They went after a Notch, the creator of Minecraft, because he named his game Scrolls.
Yeah.
And they were like, we trademarked the word Scrolls. And they tried to, and he changed it because he's like, I don't care. You know, like it has nothing to do with your game, but it's like, if you guys want that. So, and that's frivolous to me. Very frivolous. Like, especially because it's not even the title. Elder Scrolls is the subtitle. So, you know, when you say, well, except when you say Elder Scrolls 6 Skyrim, but Skyrim really is what it's named, right?
Right.
And that's one word out of the two. Scrolls, pretty crazy you would go after them. So yeah, they do look pretty aggressive now that I look back on a couple other things. I can't find the one that we're talking about, but I can find that one from Notch because he's talked about it multiple times.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've definitely gone after. Yeah, for sure.
It's wild, man. I mean, I can't say I'm shocked at this point when I see this news, because at the end of the day, they're doing what any sensible company would do: protect your property, make sure no one's abusing it, and if they are, make them pay the consequences. It's just that they are always a name popping up, always.
Right.
I don't know if other companies just keep it clean, or they keep it kind of off the radar, or maybe press doesn't cover it because it doesn't happen as often, versus Bethesda, who's just always in the mix, always taking someone on. Gotta wonder, man. Gotta wonder. All right. Next on the list, let's take a look at that. We've got... Come on, phone, load it up. Wow, it wasn't not loading. It was just the fact that, for some reason, created a new note. A indie studio comprised of former Hearthstone devs gets $30 million investment to create a Marvel game. This information comes from Kotaku.com. Let's see here. Where do I begin? Second Dinner, a new indie studio founded by Broad, former Hearthstone executive producer Hamilton Chu, and several other ex-Blizzard employees, announced today that it's gotten a $30 million investment from the Chinese company NetEase, and that its first game will be set in the Marvel Universe. The company is hiring new staff in Irvine, California. This news comes after a rough 2018 for Blizzard, one that saw the departure not just of Broad and Chu, but its CEO, Mike Morhaime? Gonna go with that, who left the company last October. It was a year full of frugality for the iconic studio as cost-cutting became the watchword. Current and former Blizzard employees continue to express fear about Activision's growing influence on companies through executives like Chief Operating Officer Armin Zerza. Fans also revolted after a disastrous BlizzCon keynote in November 2018 that closed with the announcement of Diablo Immortal, a game for phones. Incidentally, NetEase, the company funding Second Dinner, is also a co-developer on Diablo Immortal. It has partnered with Blizzard on the Chinese versions of games like Hearthstone and World of Warcraft, and last June it invested $100 million in Bungie for a new IP. So... looks like NetEase has some money to toss around. What do you think this indie studio Marvel game is going to be if it's from the former developers of Hearthstone?
It's going to be exactly what it sounds like.
Card game, you think?
It's going to be, yeah. And it's NetEase, too. If you know NetEase's history, that's the type of games that they make.
Oh, really?
Yep. I didn't know it was NetEase until you just mentioned it. I had no clue. Yeah, so that is most likely exactly what it's going to be. I would like to see... I don't have a problem with card games. Like, I know a lot of people do, and I get that. I don't, but what I would like to see is a card game... there's a couple that do this. I would like to see a card game that maybe shows you the creature on the card, or it does a little bit more... So right now, the graphics in most card games is like you put a card up, and like flash or fire, is burning on the card. If there's monsters in your game or anything like that, I'd like to see some 3D effects and shit. And I think with Marvel, they're one of the groups that might do that. One of the big things, though, is Marvel also has two of the biggest board games right now. They've got Legendary makes a Marvel board game, and then there's one more I can't remember. But they're both big collectible not collectible, sorry, but they're both board games that are based on tabletop stuff. So I could see them going that route, too, where they're just turning... one of the current board games into a game too, which would be interesting to see because Legendary it's fantastic as a card game. and it doesn't require more money. You buy it and
That's it.
you collect into your own hand, but you don't. There's no rare cards out there.
Okay.
So I'm sort of excited about it because I would like to see them do that. If it's typical Artifact like Valve's card game or whatever, then I just don't give a fuck. Like that's the problem. Is card games to me.
I only watched a little bit of Artifact.
Artifact?
Think it has like 3 lanes, right? There's like 3 different card games going on or something like that.
Yeah, and I watched a little bit of it and was like so turned off by like pretty much everything that I never like I don't know a single thing about it other than what it generally looks like.
Yeah. The idea of a Marvel card game though, I wonder how that would be, because I've been playing on my phone kind of like a free time game. Like if I'm just chilling there waiting like 10 minutes. I downloaded Marvel Strike Force because I saw that the game had kind of turned it around. I had read initial articles that there was some really big issues with it. It was like players were like saying they were going to leave it and all this stuff. And then I came in, I feel at like the right time where they reward you a lot for that style of game at least. It's very much like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes where you collect shards to unlock iconic characters in the franchise, and the way you do that is by repeating battles and certain little campaigns and stuff. But the game, like I said, it does reward you a lot for its style of game and it being free to play. And so seeing that, and then we saw the rise and fall of Marvel Heroes Omega, which is oh man, I wish that game was still around.
Dude, I still have it. I have it installed on my consoles, and I refuse to remove it.
I don't blame you.
It doesn't work. I've tried. I've been like,
you.
maybe there's a server running. Dude, it was so good.
I know.
So good.
I know. And my friends and I got into it so late. So once we got it, we started playing it, and they were like, we're shutting it down. I'm like, well, why are we going to play this then if we know it's going away? So
I don't even want to talk. That's one of the few games that actually physically depresses me. The idea that no longer exists.
Yeah, right. So what I noticed with these Marvel games is we're seeing them kind of trickle into other genres. So a card game is one. I actually wasn't aware of this legendary card game. I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to have to look into it. But a digital card game based off Marvel characters, that sounds like just a lot of opportunity. And it sounds like something that could be really cool. It also sounds like something that could make a studio a lot of money, quite honestly, because it is Marvel. But it's interesting to see a superhero-styled game come without like an official announcement from the Marvel team with like a trailer and stuff. It's like
that's why I think it's going to be a smaller.
It's got to be. But a $30 million investment, I mean, whew, that is a lot of money for what we're calling a smaller title, right?
It is, but I do think that one thing that these card games have not taken advantage of, no card game has right now other than board game versions, taken advantage of the fact that all of these, and remember, I just got into comics, so I don't know as much as you about them, but New 52, and then you have Rebirth and all this stuff. I think that these companies are looking at those and going, we haven't branched out, like, at all, really, into gaming. In a way that's not just freemium. That's not just jump in and and have your guys battle.
Gotcha.
So
wow, my phone just picked up what I said.
Your
Did you hear
phone
that?
that was awesome. Your phone's like gotcha. It's
Wow.
like when I say the name of my Alexa. But so you look at Legendary, for example. It's a card game and it requires no other money, and you can buy expansions based on comic book series. So to me, I could see them saying, okay, we're going to make a Legendary style game, and then as we adjust and have storylines in our comic book universe, if you want, you can buy those. And what's nice, my hope is that it's not, there are no rares. It's not like that. My hope is it's not that kind of game. My hope is that their content and the money they make is by merging it with the comic books, which they have not done. They've always done rare, bronze, gold, fucking super yellow, fucking chrome, and it's like every card there was a rare, and you go to eBay and buy it or get a digital code and get that kind of shit. Instead, I would just love for them to say, okay, Batman's got a series called, fucking Court of Owls, then, and even though this is DC, but I'm just saying, and they're like, okay, we've got a Court of Owls expansion that you can buy for your main game, and everybody can use them, because Legendary, DC comic book, DC card builder, those are two of the best board games you could probably get that don't require, if you don't want to, any extra purchases. They're completely playable for years by themselves. And my hope is that NetEase would do that. The problem is I think NetEase ain't that kind of company. Let me look them up. I'm pretty sure NetEase is the one that they did another Marvel game.
Yeah, let me know. Cause...
Chinese company was founded. So that's my hope. But like I said, my worry is that it is going to be. Let's see, they did, a lot of the shit they have done is either mobile or helping others. They operate Overwatch currently right now for Blizzard, or in China. They handle all Overwatch.
Wow.
They did all testing for Diablo 3. So you know what I mean? It's weird. Like what they do is weird. So launched free-to-play digital strategy game Hearthstone. Yeah. I don't know, man. My hope is, though, that they copy the board games and not this typical stuff. There's enough freemium games out there. Netmarble is a company that releases, they've got like 18 Marvel games. And they're all the very typical fight for a little while, then buy some energy to fight again, or wait.
That's exactly
that
what
kind
Strikeforce is at some point.
Yeah.
They give you so much energy that I'm usually...
Right.
I can just kind of rip right through it.
And I think these companies are sitting on gold mines that have their own comic book series, because they haven't done it like the way I'm describing. And I think that there is a massive amount of money to be played or to be made by actually rewarding the gamer with not grifting them instead of grifting them, because everybody's getting grifted and there's only so much money. So if you and I are playing what's the game? The card game? Dragon Ball. Yeah. If you and I are playing that, then I want to play Arkham, I have to decide which one my $5 goes to.
Right.
But if this company is like, hey, and maybe sponsor some championships, what have you, and they're like, hey, you buy this once, and the only thing if you want to buy are these other storylines, fuck, I'm all in for that. And we've seen something like this. Talisman was a huge board game, and a company bought it and did just that. They did digital versions on Android, iPhone, and PC of Talisman. The board game didn't require anything else.
Wow.
It was the full game. So I would love for more companies to do this. That's my hope. I'm crossing my fingers for that.
Yeah. If I were to draw a game comparison personally, I'd hope it'd be something like Thronebreaker. I think that's an idea of a game that
there you go.
Overworld, accessibility, but yet a complex card game tucked away inside it. And I think a lot of companies are going to take a page from what CD Projekt Red did and pursue it with their own franchises, because I think it's hard to just by pure namesake alone, I think it's hard to convince people to go and spend 30 of their dollars on a digital card game when they're like, I could go buy Hitman half off or whatever.
Right.
But if it is more of what you'd see in your standard games, like an overworld, you're exploring, you're looting, and the way fights are handled, like in Thronebreaker, are so varied and require different methods of approach each time around, I think it becomes more of a video game. It engages the player in a way that card games sometimes don't. And I think that Marvel could really benefit from something like that just by namesake alone. Thronebreaker, The Witcher, pretty popular name for hardcore gamers, but I don't think mainstream alone would get that done, or I would hear about this game. Whereas Marvel, it's just instant attention getter right there. So
yeah, and I mean there are a lot of these games out there that it does feel like some card companies are picking up on this too, which and you even see it, the I mean, being honest, that's how I started my channel, anti-establishment reviews. Yeah. Then you have free-to-play games that are like, we're going to offer you everything with no free-to-play. Then you have games that are like, we're not going to charge you anything. We're anti-upfront money, and we'll slowly, dole out things if you want to buy them to get you to pay there. So there's all these different versions. But the one that hasn't been done much is the Thronebreaker style, which is it's all just there. It's all... there is no other thing to buy, and you don't feel ripped off.
It's $30. $30 for a 30-hour story, tons of new cards, and ones that you can take into the free-to-play version of Gwent. It was great business structure and very consumer-friendly. It was a good risk.
I'm actually excited for this. I mean, I'm tentative, but I'm excited for this because I do feel that of all the companies, Marvel and DC just have not taken advantage of the major strength they have, which is these comic book lines. And they, at some point, somebody's got to say, oh shit, like, this is going to sound really off topic, but even, this will never happen, but even podcasts that were like audio dramas.
Right.
And stuff like that, like things that, because it's always movies, it's always cartoons, it's always, and if it's a game, it has to be this big flashy 3D fighting game or something like that, or these free to play. But there is this market there of people who are like, I'd love to jump in if I felt that I didn't have to fight with Matty over a rare card. That, dude, that's why I asked you guys when you and Takedown were talking about Dragon Ball. I was like, listen, does a person who buys the starter pack have a chance? Like, that's, it's a big deal to a lot of people. Right. But you guys were explaining that it's not that hard to get a chance once you do a couple things and get a couple extra cards. So it's one of the better ones. But yeah, I'm actually sort of excited for this.
It's funny you say that, because going back to another free-to-play Marvel example, when I was playing Strike Force, there's a mode called Arena where you fight other players, the computer version of other
their
players'
characters.
teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my squad right now is Luke Cage, Spider-Man, the Punisher, Jessica Jones, and Crossbones. And out of all those characters, number one, you can unlock all of them for free, but off the bat, they give you Luke Cage, Spider-Man, the Punisher, like they and Crossbones. They just give you all of them for free right away. And they're still, even I'm level 40 now, still in the kind of middle of the game, able to use them, fight other teams who are still using them as well, and unlocking tons of other stuff to build different teams. So
yeah,
I'm not saying Marvel Strike Force, for those of you who maybe have played it way longer than I've only played it for right now. I think my clock says 15 days on it. Like, I've logged in 15 days rather. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. I'm not saying that they didn't make their mistakes, but I am saying that what I see now, I would like some form of replication. And if they're going to take the freemium route, that there is this sense in Strike Force that there is attainability, that as long as I'm patient, I can get what I need. It's just, the money offers are there. I don't want them to take that route, though. If you want to keep that shit to mobile, by all means, that's kind of the market there. But if we're making a $30 million investment in a game, I imagine there will be, and it's a card game, I imagine there will be microtransactions, but I don't know how they do it.
Did you ever play the Marvel game? And I loved this game. It was an Android game where you would travel around the world and you had different characters, and then you would fight like in Mortal Kombat, but you only had a couple buttons. It was like weak, strong,
they
and
did
then
that with Injustice too, didn't they?
Sort of, but yeah, actually, it was sort of a copy of this, and I just can't remember the name. But if something like that would also I would also like, where like it's so Magic of all things, the Gathering Arena. I don't know if you ever played that.
Yeah,
the old game where like you would get the 3D fighters coming in.
Oh,
is that the one I'm talking
about? I thought you were talking.
No, I'm not talking about. Yeah, you are probably talking about that. I'm probably getting the name wrong because you know Magic better than me. But on the 360, there was a Magic game where you would play the card game, and then you had like avatars. Your avatars would actually come out, and they would have powers from the cards, and they would 3D fight. Ooh. But it wasn't like Virtual Fighter or something that detailed. It was more light, almost like a Streets of Rage. Running around,
Gotcha.
Just fighting people. Couple buttons. And I like that. I like the mix of that. And so I'm looking right now. I can't fucking remember the name of this.
Yeah, because I
think
it was Arena was the beta that came out just recently. That was like a free-to-play card game, and I love that.
Yeah,
it's literally Magic the Gathering online. It's great stuff. And that's coming from someone who's not that great at Magic the Gathering.
I can't believe. Yeah, fuck. I think Netmarble made it. I'm gonna look this up real quick because to me. Like, if we can get this kind of stuff, I don't know why companies don't jump on the chance of this stuff. Maybe I'm not understanding, like, the money situation, and maybe their servers cost so much. Maybe that's what it is, and so that's why they go this shitty freemium route. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me that there's multiple ways where these companies could fucking nail it if they just gave the players some shit. Like, and it sounds like the game you're playing, at least for some amount, is giving you shit, like giving you items to unlock, and that's half of the fucking game right there.
I think that shouldn't be made of such a big deal of if the game is you're paying for it, but if it's a freemium game, they're obviously going to look to make ends meet by you buying microtransactions afterwards. But I like when it's like when Fallout Shelter launched. I think you can still kind of do it now with Fallout Shelter. But I know once they added Nuka Cola Quantum, that's when I kind of just dropped off the game because I felt like at that point there was a lot of encouragement to pay or be patient once again. But when that game launched, it was very much always throwing you a bone, keeping you looped in, and that was during a time where a big point of discussion in that game of the industry was how mobile games are just very much focused on squeezing the money out of you for absolutely nothing.
Right.
So seeing games start to throw you bones a little bit more, it's definitely encouraging.
I'm going to find this fucking thing because I want you to play this game because I actually think you will like it. I fucking cannot believe I can't find this. Somebody, I'm sure, right now has written it already in the YouTube comments. But, dude, I'm telling you, like, it is such a great mix of, like, collectible stuff with a fairly shallow 3D fighting game. And it even looked amazing. Like, it was... I'm not going to find it, I bet. That's another problem. If I'm not finding it, does that mean it's defunct? And if it does, then...
Is it a digital-only game? Like from an Xbox
This was cell phone. Oh, sorry, I'm not looking for the Magic one. Oh, I'm looking for that Marvel one now. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to find them. Well, actually, I could probably find that one too. But I really wanted to show this one in particular to you because if you're liking the game you're playing, I was like I have a feeling he'll really like this one, but I'm not gonna find it. Let me look at that. So it was Magic the Gathering fighting game. It was called Battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds.
It looks like Magic. Okay. Xbox, original Xbox. It's a real strategy game based on Magic Gathering collectible card game with some fundamental differences. The game's based on the creation of heroes and mages that summon forth powerful magic spells and abilities. Duelists learn new spells, and then you basically jump into an actual battleground and fight.
Wow. That's
very old. Original Xbox.
That's still super cool, though.
And I like that idea.
Backwards compatible.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I wonder how they even choose backwards compatible because there's been, like, 5 of the Skylanders are, but then one's not. And I've always wondered if there's an IP issue because I think that's the one that had Spyro in it. And so I've always wondered if, like, a lot of these backwards compatible games get chosen by how easy they would be to get without spending a shit ton of cash.
It makes you wonder how they got KOTOR 1 and 2 backwards compatible because that's been the age-old
excuse
for those fuckers that we can't remake it because of licensing rights. I'm like, okay, sure. It's Star Wars, but we can't find a way.
Do you think that maybe they got that because Knights of the Old Republic exists and they were like, because it exists, maybe they went to them. Who knows? Like maybe, because I can't remember who does Knights of the Old Republic, but it's a different company. They were... sorry, I'm talking about online.
Oh, okay.
So I'm wondering if KOTOR 1 and 2 got backwards compatible because online exists. And online, they even said, hey, it's not canon, but it's doing really well, so we're going to leave it running. I can't remember what... It is, too, because, not to be rude, but it's better than most new Star Wars stuff. And it's like, the Old Republic is some of the most intriguing...
It's good. It's much better now than when I had first
much
played
better.
it.
Yeah, you didn't like it, I remember.
Yeah. And now I actually do enjoy it. I haven't played it in about a month, but I sunk a good 20 plus hours into it real fast, all free to play. I mean, it was really great what was there. Yeah, man, I hope Star Wars figures their shit out, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, me too, because it feels like they're never going to. We're just going to be stuck with the same old shit.
That EA deal ends, then I think we'll see some change.
You think that's maybe like in some way it's connected to in particular that?
I feel like it's got to be a bad deal. Just to me, that's just what it screams to me. I know EA is very stagnant in some ways, but I can't help but feel like they can't be just looking at Marvel and DC and all these companies who explore even Rage 2, where you're exploring multiple developers collaborating or having a vision and a company that fits it. And EA can't be sitting on the Star Wars license and going, let's not do that, right? Like,
right.
They're, even if at worst they are the most money hungry, greedy people in the industry, that would only serve to motivate them to look into partnering with different companies to make money off this license they probably did not pay a very cheap amount for. So I have to think that they just have some bad deal in place here that's keeping them very stagnant. It is now year 6 of their deal, and they have had 2 Battlefront games. And maybe this year we'll get the Respawn one. We'll actually get something different from Star Wars, which would be nice. And maybe this, like we were having right now I sound pretty negative on Star Wars, and it's because I fucking love Star Wars. Maybe that tune changes when the new Star Wars movie comes out at the end of this year alongside the game, and maybe everything's positive again and all is right in the Star Wars world. But right now, it's just very concerning with that EA deal. Very concerning. Well, we'll see in due time. Our last topic of the show is Half-Life. So, Karak, you made me aware of this story right before we had fired this Love the Show up. Pretty much, I have the general gist. You can give us the finer details if you have them available.
You want me to just read the Eurogamer?
Yeah, you know what? Go for it. Let's do it that way.
Okay. So it just says Valve writer Eric Wolpaw, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong, rejoins the company. Eric Wolpaw, best known for his work on Portal and Half-Life 2 episodes, has rejoined Valve after more than a year away. He left Valve in February 2017 to work on Double Fine's upcoming Psychonauts sequel. He co-wrote the original Psychonauts back in 2005 before his decade-long stint at Valve. While at Valve, he worked on Half-Life 2, Episode 1 and 2, Portal, Left 4 Dead, and Portal 2. His departure in 2017 was seen as a symptom of Valve's recent lack of game releases and came after the exodus also of Jay Pinkerton, Chet Balensk, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Mark Laidlaw, which is probably the most important other than him about this, and Mark's returned as well. So, Half-Life 3 fans are, I mean, I'm sure they're hoping that what that means is that Valve has finally decided to go the Half-Life 3 route. Don't know if that is what it means. But
I don't know. I don't want to sit here and say never, because I think there is a chance, but I feel like if it were to happen, it would have already happened, right? They knew the demand was there. They knew money was there.
And they skipped out on it all.
They made a ton more, maybe, by taking the route of Dota and what else? Counter-Strike? Was Counter-Strike Valve?
Counter-Strike, yep.
Okay.
Counter-Strike, Dota,
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead. Yeah, Portal. I mean, but Portal sold well, but I
feel like Portal is like a
critical darling.
Like a co-op game that like everyone's played at least once.
Yeah.
Portal 2 rather. That's a fantastic co-op game. I just wonder if as they kind of went that path that they were like, why do we need Half-Life 3? Like what do they accomplish now by doing it how many years later?
And with the amount of excitement, can you imagine if you were a developer on that and you know what people are expecting? It's beyond anything. It's way beyond like Diablo. It's way beyond. I mean, it's legitimately one of the largest, like, well-known titles ever. I mean, I would love to see it happen. We joked around that it would be a card game, and that's what I was when I told you I had spent 30 minutes laughing in the podcast. That's actually what I was laughing about, is because a card game surprised me so much. Like, why the fuck would it be a card game? But that's just exactly the weird shit that's going on in the industry right now. Where, like, it wouldn't surprise me if they were like, Half-Life 3, the card game. And you're like, what the fuck? That makes no sense. But it's a huge title. But, man, dude, the expectations, and like you said, the money, like what they walked away from when it was a huge deal, because it's not as huge of a deal now because some gamers have died. I mean, Half-Life 1 was Dreamcast era. I don't think people realize there's a Dreamcast version of Half-Life 1. So obviously the game series game series has been around forever.
Literally.
But imagine, and unfortunately, 2 of the major actors have passed away.
Wow.
So you would have to replace a voice. Not that that could stop anything, but you would have to, replace a voice. I mean, did you play Half-Lives? Did you even play?
I played the first one.
Played the first one. Gotcha.
I never got around to playing the second one. But I played both Portals.
You played both Portals. What'd you think of those?
I love Portal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not like I didn't play the second Half-Life because I didn't want to. I never got around to it. No. I always remember, though, making a video about, like, it was in 2015, I think. I was just like, I talked about Fallout 4 not being the next Half-Life 3. I remember that so well. Not what was said in the video, but I just remember being like, yeah, it's... Guys, like, this is not the same case whatsoever. But, yeah, man, Half-Life's just a franchise that... part of what stopped me from going to the second one is, like, I don't even know if there's going to be a third one. And I know the way the second one ends, everyone's hyped because what could have been in the third one was awesome. And now we haven't seen that third one, so why join in on the agony of others when I could just go play something else that might be continued?
On the other hand, what that could also mean is a new title from them that has great writers, because you don't hire writers for a card game.
Yeah.
That, though, at least you don't probably hire those guys for a card game. Yeah, right. Unless it's a Thronebreaker style game, where they do a narrative. I mean, I don't know anything. Valve consistently flummoxes me. Like everything from Steam and how shitty that's run to just like the way they do things, you never quite know. You're like, Artifact, really? And then everything was free, was fucking pay to play in Artifact. Like that blew people away. I mean, it was insane. Of a company out there that you would think. Now, remember, I don't know if you know this. You probably do. But Gabe left Microsoft because of Microsoft's tactics. Mm-hmm. He was very big in his antagonism towards Microsoft and their money-making schemes and all this stuff. And then they release Artifact. And you're like, how the mighty have fallen. Yeah. a little bit. Yeah, so I would love to see it, but it would have to be... Dude, it would almost have to include 1 and 2 because people would need to know what was even going on, because a lot of people haven't played, those games.
I think part of it's maybe Valve has had different ideas for the franchise, like, hey, maybe we could reboot it, maybe we could take it this direction, but the way the expectations are there, it's not even people are expecting the greatest game ever. They're just like, yeah, we want a third one. It has to be a third one. There can't be anything else. That story has to continue. That vision has to continue, and maybe the inside of that has more knowledge than what on the situation.
What we have,
yeah, obviously more than what we have, but more so what I'm saying is perhaps there was a vision there that they don't want to compromise, and maybe they can't complete, because you were talking about how like certain people passed away. It's like people leave the company too. It's like, the original visionaries for this project, are they still there and able to do what they had originally planned? Is there a lack of decisiveness on that end? Just because the pressure's there, the expectations are there. Can we even do this game right? Do we just tuck our tails and run? That type of thing. I feel like there's so much mystery behind it.
Well, and they did, Portal had pretty good writing. Portal 1 and 2. Well, not pretty good, very good. It was just negative space writing a lot of times. It was like on purposely vague. Maybe they're looking at a game. I mean, and man, I don't want to start anything with fucking people watching, but like Left 4 Dead, the next one, what if it's a battle royale style game or something like that? Like, and they want to put narrative in it, like the Codex in Destiny, as in not outside of the game, but I mean, build a world that feels real so that people get into it. Because I will say, yeah, exactly, right? Because that's what I was going to say, is that no one's really made you care about a battle royale world. You're just there.
Yeah, Fortnite did to an extent by doing like that random thing in the desert. I think it was like a big burger or whatever that people started finding in the desert.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was cool like real world things happening that connected to the game. And because Fortnite's got so much money to show, they did something else that I saw Jeff Keighley tweet about, where like the game was moving with the real world. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't even Fortnite. It was Red Dead. I apologize. Scratch that.
Oh.
It was Red Dead had like Christmas carolers in it. I said it, I think, on the podcast with Takedown.
Yeah, you guys did. But just so you know, you're right about Fortnite having something. They have the stone statue that moves, and people have been tracking it. It's in the center of the. It's in the center of one of the maps, and like people have tracked it in the last couple months, and like you know, it's like slowly moving. And then they had the big box that like changed the world. But what I mean is like narrative, like it would be interesting to see a company attempt to make a battle royale not only make sense from a jump in and play, but like a live, because that is an open world with a battle royale in its center of the future. Like we don't know. Like that, and if somebody does it right, it could be. Plants vs. Zombies. You ever played that series?
Yes.
So Plants vs. Zombies 2 had probably one of the best multiplayer style things I've ever seen, which is where you come out in your single player game, and in the back, if you go into the back of the city, there's an actual flag, and people are fighting over the flag, but they're multiplayer, and you're just like, whoa, it's like it injects it into the game world, and it's always...
Design.
Oh, dude,
it stuck with me. Even though I wasn't in love with the game, it just always stuck with me.
Yeah, it's a really smart design decision, and maybe a bigger title like this is like, okay, we're going to make a world where Battle Royale makes sense, because PlanetSide's trying to do it, and PlanetSide probably has a fairly good grasp on how to get it done, but it would be cool to see those guys be like, okay, here's our Battle Royale, and it's, you know, a world you'd care about and want to be there in some way.
Right. Interesting.
Especially now.
Good ideas. Good ideas. I mean, I wouldn't be against like I don't want to say a narrative focus, but a world building, like, you know, based off. If they kind of, how could I best explain this? This has nothing to do with Half-Life, but I imagine they could create a fiction where, okay, obviously every Battle Royale map is going to be the same in the terms of the map itself, physically. But if we create this idea that maybe they're in like this program and they're dropping into this entirely new world each time and build a fiction around that where they leave like little clues and lore notes behind, and you kind of build it out yourself and learn about it yourself. It can create this ecosystem almost in the game where the player keeps like dropping into this battle royale, learning about the world each time and building more on what's happening maybe outside the program. Like I said, this is just a random off the top of my head idea on how they could put a narrative into a battle royale, but explain why you keep dropping onto this same map and trying to kill everyone around you.
Well, especially with battle royales right now, there isn't a ton of them that also have PvE at the same time,
right?
An overlap. So it's like, what if they're all in space stations and you get your own station? The better you do, maybe you can put shit in it, what have you. But you're always dropping down into these areas to fight over contested lands, and occasionally, you know, there is the big monster that pops up, what have you, and you're doing these things, and they just explain all of this stuff. Maybe there's places you can go, because open world is becoming, with Red Dead, almost unattainable by other companies. And what I have thought in the past is, will we see a game where it takes the open world and merges a battle royale in it, so that even if it's not as big of an open world as a Red Dead, but so that we see a merging of the genres versus an explosion of the single one? Because how much bigger can a game get? They can get awesomely bigger, but usually their narrative fails. It falls apart. So instead of making it bigger, as it like an MMO would do, or Dragon Age Inquisition, they instead are like, we're gonna fucking tighten it. You have a battle royale plus this other sort of entity and world that exists that you're able to do. Because even MMOs I've played, free-to-play ones, have added battle royale modes because it's so popular.
Right on.
So it's like, it would be interesting to see a professional company, not professional, that's a bad way to say it, a big publisher go out and do that. That's well known.
You know, this is completely off topic, but I keep thinking about it. It's probably because I've been playing Pokemon recently, but I've heard rumors that like the next Pokemon game is going to be kind of like Breath of the Wild tier. Like it's going to be in that same style of openness, and I'm just like, oh fuck, man. Like that would be crazy.
You mean like replace the main character in Zelda with the pet trainer? With the Pokemon trainer?
Yeah, and like you're in that type of open world not exactly Breath of the Wild, but like you're in that open world space, and it's that big and expansive, like
Yep. That's the thing, because it makes sense, because Pokemon actually has a game system that works, but it's its own thing. It's its own game system. But imagine them mixing in like the open world of a Zelda. Yes, I honestly believe that that's where at some point some company is going to go, because we've already seen companies mix mini games into their games. We've seen all of these companies try different things. We've seen, yeah, and so it's like it only makes sense to me that somebody looks at Battle Royale and says we can't be Call of Duty's version of Battle Royale because they've nailed that. Battle, or what's the other one? The shit one. PUBG. I mean, shit as in it doesn't run well. You've got that one that's doing its own thing. It's like I could see a company coming in and saying, we're doing this.
I've always been a big proponent of when it comes to Battle Royale that they would try to implement some type of RPG mechanics. Like, because it's always about the people identify the best loot in the game. They're like, okay, I got my level 3 armor. I got this weapon that's, ranked the best weapon, like a KN, for example, for Blackout mode. Like, that's the best one of the best weapons you can get in that. It's like, okay, I got my KN, I got my level 3 armor, and people narrow down what the best loot is. But what if there was a leveling process, and I've told you about this before, but like different roles within the leveling system. Like, I find it so hard to believe that no one has considered a leveling system to tie into your looting process, because it's always about drop in, loot, try to get the best loot, kill everyone around you, survive with your team. But imagine if there was also abilities and powers that you can upgrade progressively each time, and you're just restarting from level 1. You're level 1ing each time, and just and that's just like a new element added to it. Like I find it so hard to believe that's something that's never been done before, and that I would not be shocked if at sometime this year we saw a Battle Royale game implement some type of RPG mechanics. Because
I mean, I think that makes total sense. You mean classes and like maybe not stats, or do you mean stats too? Like,
I'd say
classes, or do you just mean more classes?
I'd say classes, abilities, unlocks, stats could be something like, because this is an idea I've never tried to like fine tune by any means, but if you were to like make a healer class, a damage class, a defense class, and the list goes on, and then give like, lots of skill trees that kind of branch out, so each time you can build something a little bit differently if you want, based off how your team's constructed and how your teammates play. Like, this time my support class is going to be straight HP healing, but let's say there's magic in this game, so you have a friend who's an attack style character, he shoots fireballs, maybe you could restore his mana a little bit quicker with your support class because he's really good with that fireball, and you want to keep restoring him and letting him just rain hell on people. That's a thought I've always personally had on how they could move the Battle Royale genre forward. I think narratively is one thing that I'm also shocked that we haven't seen. I think it was only a matter of time, but with the RPG elements, I feel like there's almost a little bit of that already there with the looting and building a character out. Even if it's very light in the scheme of things compared to the most hardcore of RPGs, there's still that looting, decking your character out. So it's like the last thing that's missing is a temporary leveling system, almost like a MOBA. Start off at level 1 in a MOBA, you go to level 20, boom, you're maxed out. Game ends, you start over again, you're level 1, and you gotta level up again and do the right build. But this
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, but this time there's more options, because MOBA, it's usually just about leveling up so much that everything's kind of filled out, like your character's almost at max power. Where this one, I'm offering the idea of like multiple branching trees based off team builds.
I was just gonna say there's 2 games that have little parts of this. Battleborn, which we both liked.
Oh, yeah.
Battleborn had you level up as you played, remember? Because you'd start at level 0 and you had to do better and better. But another one is called Shadowrun. It was for the Xbox 360. And it was a shooter. It was a shooter with classes. So you'd have a magic user class that could or a healer that could build a tree in the center of the world. And it would literally come up. And then people who were under it, the leaves would fall, heal them. But it was shooter mechanics as well the entire time, and it didn't do well because I don't think people were ready for a Shadowrun shooter. They weren't ready for that. Now it would be eaten up. It would people would, of course, and Shadowrun's done so much better now with the multiple titles that have come out and done well. But yeah, I would die for that. While you were talking, I was sitting here going, imagine a game where, let's say, it's based. I don't even know, technological, arcane, what have you, but if I have a gun of a certain type and a rifle of a certain type, and I'm a certain type of character, what if when I pull out the gun, I can feed the electricity from the rifle into the handgun and do more damage? You could mix all these things. If I was a lightning fucking fighter or something like that, all these things could be mixed together, and you could do some crazy shit that I think would stop what happens in a lot of battle royales, which is either hiding, because I've seen a lot of people win a battle royale by doing nothing, and it happens a lot. And in fact, I have a lot of people in my Discord right now who can get very close to winning almost every match of PUBG by not going around anybody, letting everybody else fight, and then shoot like one guy and be number one and win.
Right.
I would, and we were talking about this, and I would love to see a thing that sort of made the world more active, because the world isn't very active except Fortnite, which you construct, but the world itself is not active. It's just
building
there.
Place to hold loot.
It's like Forza Horizon 3 versus 4. 3's world was always in summer, or Blizzard Mountain was winter, but then you get 4 where it's changing the entire terrain. And so it's like, what if you could get a battle royale game with seasons, or and it's like suddenly a battleground, you normally can see an enemy 100 yards out, you got your sniper rifle, you drop down, now it's snowy, because we don't even have weather in most of these games.
Yeah, only like when they're updated, if that's what you're getting at, right? Because I know Fortnite had an update that added like snow to the mountains and stuff like that, but you're talking about like as it goes on, like dynamic weather occurs, and it's like, fuck, it's raining and foggy now.
Yeah, PUBG, you come, you land on your parachute, but it's like, what if you're going in through the snow and you don't know now where the other people are dropping? So you're like, fuck, because I can't see anything because there's snow clouds.
Cool.
And and so you have to think on your feet of like, how is the world interacting? Because, that's what I was going to say. The other big problem I think with battle royales is, when you get together, the person with the better weapon, as long as they're somewhat skilled the same, it's just like, that's it. Like the person with the better weapon will usually win as long as they're similar skilled. But the idea that the environment could be used a little bit more, or that a skill could be used that would shock you. Smash Brothers is pretty much what I'm talking about now, where you get the chaos. And I would like a little bit more chaos involved.
Gotcha.
Just a tiny bit more, so that if you and I met each other and I'm like, fuck, Matty's played all these games, he's the last guy alive and I'm the last guy alive, and we're fucking going into this field, and I know I'm probably going to die, but it's now snowing and you are better at sniper, but I'm better up close. And it's like, now I can fucking duck down in the grass. Can you see me? Just little things like that, I think, would be amazing. And the power of the systems can do that now, I think.
Yeah. And you actually got my wheel spinning a little bit on another idea.
Yeah, now I'm all excited.
Yeah, because you were talking about, I'll imagine if I could get the lightning to go into my pistol. And I was like, okay, I was talking about classes earlier, and you got me thinking, here's a good class idea, like an engineer, where a lot of this is about resource collection, and sometimes you'll find like the better weapon, but imagine if you could like scrap that weapon into parts that you can use to upgrade your current weapons, and it's not just like tier based, like so often, like we'll see in Fortnite, like here's your orange, like your legendaries, and then here's your purples, your blues, your greens, your normals, and I wondered, imagine if you could build that up yourself, you recycle parts, maybe based off the weapon you have, a red dot might be smarter to add to your weapon versus a long barrel versus grip, or something that allows you to aim down your sights a little bit faster. Just little things like that add a little more agency. At the end of the day, yes, when it comes to competitive play with these battle royales, it narrows down the picks. People are going to find out what's the best of the best. But if I feel there's this sense of control on how I build my character, there could be fun trying to go into a battle royale and build a character that maybe a bit of an underdog and trying to win with that, or trying to find a team comp that works with that lesser power of a character.
And that could be your enjoyment of the game, is not necessarily killing everybody, where the enjoyment of PUBG for a lot of my friends is to not do anything, right? But what if your enjoyment was an engineer running around, grabbing guns, collecting shit, preparing them for your friends, or just fucking adjusting your own? And so most of your game is building up one gun, right? And then you face a guy who maybe has a bunch of skills, but he's been battling it out.
Right.
He's still better than you.
I gotcha.
Like he's better at fighting than you, but you guys get up close, and now you hit him the first time, and he's like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Like 50% of my life came off. And yeah, I love the idea of this. And I think it would require a company to really have some balls and be like, we're not going to make things perfectly statistically matchable. Because you're right, it is about tiers, and you're tier 1, tier 2. What do you know? Well, tier 2 is going to be more powerful than tier 1 every time by this. I would love if there was a little tiny RNG in there. And RNG doesn't even have to be in the damage. It could be in, if I'm a certain class, what if my reticle aims just a little bit better, has a tiny bit less recoil, even though the gun may also have its own recoil adjustment. And you get all these things. And so you're working, you and I are both engineers, both running around, but you have a skill, or your class allows for this reticle thing where my class allows me to hook a scope up to a gun that you normally wouldn't have. And suddenly we're in a different kind of battle at the very end, even though that we're the same type of character.
Gotcha.
And I just don't see any games doing that. And again, it'd be difficult as fuck. But Valve, again, has unlimited resources. I think they're the company that could do something like that and might. Like I could see them trying something. Just being like, fuck it. Let's just go for it.
Yeah, man. I think there's a lot of potential in Battle Royale, and that I understand where people are just like, yeah, man, I'm tired of so Overwatch, for God's sakes. I'm tired of Battle Royale. It's just constant kill fest and all that stuff. And I think there's room to evolve, and that people will see over time. Like, yes, it's popular, but there will be kind of like a nice shot in the arm that might get some people to want to actually check it out.
Yeah, and feels a little bit more a little bit more useful on a team too. Because I know that if I jump into a public game and I can tell like some people are together in a game, and I'll be like, fuck, they're probably talking or what have you, and you're sort of the odd man out. It'd be nicer to have a little bit of a flexibility there to where somebody new could offer something you never expected. What if you had something where the engineer is near you and it I think Battlefield 5 does this a little bit, where it adjusts some things if people are near you. And I like that idea too. Like, right, where you feel like, hey, let's travel as a team. Or what if it's you do more damage when you're far away? Like, almost no game's ever done that. What if it's like you pick a perk that's called like Solo Hunter, and if, for every 100 yards somebody's not near you, you do an extra 10 points of damage or something. And so now people are running away from battle so that they can do more damage against a person like yourself who's building an engineer, and you have a fucking head helmet no one can shoot through. There's hundreds of things that they could do.
Gotcha. Yeah. A lot of room for potential there. But we'll see if anyone wants to take our ideas and put them into effect.
They're watching.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, that was a great return for the H.A.M Radio Podcast. We hope all of you enjoyed. Karak, thank you so much for joining me on another
You bet, man. It's a blast.
Episode. And we will catch you all next week with episode 185. Peace out.
Peace out.